Hey everybody, thanks for coming back. Thought I'd do a video tonight. I've noticed a lot of people lately on the Facebook groups and different YouTube videos that I've seen and on Instagram, just different places. A lot of people, it seems like, are either getting into the hobby or maybe they've collected at one time and they're just now getting back into it, whether it's with their kids or just for whatever reason. A lot of, I'm going to say, new collectors, and a lot of questions about what to look for, what to collect, things like that. So I thought I might help some of you out, and maybe even if you've been collecting for a while, I may have some information that you don't know. And be sure, I'll just go ahead and say it, if there's anything that I miss in this video that you think is important for people who are just getting into the hobby, then please feel free to drop that below, and I'll try to either edit the video later if there's something major we leave out, or mention it going forward. But just wanted to do just kind of a general overview. This video will just be for mainlines. I will probably do a premium video later on, as I think for the most part people kind of get their feet wet with mainlines, and that's usually what people are talking about when they're asking, what should I collect? Even though a lot of times that's not necessarily what you'd be looking at. And with that, I guess we should kind of talk about why you might be collecting. I'll say first off, if you are collecting to try and make money, this is really probably not the best way to go about that. And it's not that you can't make money on some pieces. You can. If you want to make money off Hot Wheels or Diecast, you should probably just go ahead and open up a store. A lot of people have done that very successfully. But buying and flipping Hot Wheels for money as a career is, I've seen a lot of people spend a lot more money than they ever thought they would, and really end up losing money. It's kind of like, it's almost like playing the stock market if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're reckless with it. But with that being said, I actually just turned 40 this week. And when I was a little feller, this is kind of the Hot Wheels that I was used to. And I had quite a few of them. I got them as gifts. I picked some out, but it was mostly from family members that had bought stuff. Of course, Hot Wheels were popular back then, and that was the mid to late 80s. And so I will say this video is going to touch more on the newer stuff. That's what I see a lot of questions about. That's what I'm more knowledgeable about. And to be truthful, there's kind of almost two camps in Hot Wheels. There's a whole lot of, I'm going to say FOMO, fear of missing out. And, I've been guilty of that as well with some of it. And then there's kind of your old school collector. Now, there can be a blend of both, but it's almost in two camps. And if you stick around very long, you'll see a lot of people trying to sell off collections of a lot of what I had, which was cars from the 90s and the 2000s. And the truth is that while there are some that have some value from then, kind of what we saw was people who had the original cars from like the late 60s and the 70s, and they held some value. Of course, there weren't as many of those made. They were played with. A lot of them didn't survive. The stuff from the 90s on, a lot of that stuff was made, a lot of it survived, a lot of it was kept in packages. And so generally you'll find that they really don't retain their value. So, you'll find people buying lots of cars from those generations for like 25 to 50 cents a piece. Now, the newer stuff, I'll just go ahead and say, if you're really into it to collect, buy what you're interested in. It's really easy to get into a rabbit hole of trying to collect everything. Not only will that cost you a whole lot of money and you'll never actually find everything, but you'll soon be running out of space. I have totes and totes and totes full of Hot Wheels. Now, I've got the space for it, but at the same time, it can be a little disheartening when you're looking around and you're just like, oh, this stuff's in boxes. I'm not getting to look at it. I'm not getting to enjoy it. So, think about what you're actually going to do. What's the purpose? Are you buying this stuff to hoard, thinking that you'll make money later? Or are you buying it to pull out of the package, to play with, to enjoy, to display? Are you just doing it as a hobby? Something, even just the act of looking through the cars is fun. And what got me back into it was when my little boy got interested. This is what got us back into it. He was into trains, had just started getting into Hot Wheels, and so that was kind of our first foray, and it snowballed from there. So when you're talking about the regular Hot Wheels, mainlines is what we'll call them. That's the kind of low end Hot Wheels that used to be 99 cents or $1. They're now usually $1.18, $1.25, depending on where you find them. But it's these regular cars. Well, I shouldn't say that. Regular cars on a card like this. And Hot Wheels releases 15 different cases of these every year, and they're actually lettered, but there are no, I believe, I case and no O case. This particular car came from a Q case, and you can tell that on the back of the standard American card. On the back, the last letter is the letter of the case. So those cases will have different cars in them. Some of them will be duplicates of the last case, and there are duplicates in the cases themselves. So, now there's different variations of these main lines, all right? Walmart and Target each kind of have their own that are standard. They have several throughout the year. Walmart has Zamax, which are just unpainted. They're all like this. It'll be different models that are actually in the regular mainline series. They're just denoted by the packaging and the color. And Target has red editions, which are usually either red or black with red embellishments. Some of the other stores that have exclusives are Kroger, Dollar General, Best Buy. And usually those come in sets of 4, and they're, again, cars that are in the mainline series for that year. They're just a different color, exclusive to that store. Usually the best way, the Walmart and the Target editions are on the package. The other ones are not. They just look like regular mainlines, and the best way to know what they are is to go to the Mattel Creations website or some other Diecast news site and see the previews there. And a lot of times, for the most part, when those exclusives come out, they're actually part of a mail-in to where you can buy a certain amount of cars, send in the card backs and receipts, and get a mail-in car. And you can usually order half cases with those cars in online, or sometimes you can find those cases in the store. Usually it's easier to order them online. So a lot of times what people are really searching for when they kind of learn more about the main lines and kind of what holds some value is the treasure hunts and the super treasure hunts. Now, these, again, the treasure hunts are a little bit harder to identify unless you know what you're looking for, like a specific model. There is a different one in each case every year. And they always will have this flame symbol, the treasure hunt flame symbol, on the car somewhere. Sometimes they're a little more hidden than others. And also, if you can see here, behind the car on the card back, there's a flame. And some of these will have writing on them, some of them won't. But that's how you can tell if it's a treasure hunt. And on the super treasure hunts, there will be, on these will be the only one like this in the case. On the super treasure hunts, you'll have the main line, but then one in every so many cases will have this instead of, say, 2 of these. There'll be one of these to replace it. Obviously, on this one, you can tell quite a difference straight away. They will always have Spectraflame paint, which is kind of like a metallic flake paint. Sometimes on the blacks and the reds, it's harder to tell apart, but some of the other colors like yellow and like this blue are pretty easy. The wheels are always different. These are two-piece wheel and tire. They're usually a different color, usually fancier, and the wheels themselves will be rubber. Now, on this one, it's kind of hard to tell. They can look plasticky, but they're actually, if you've seen any premiums or if you've seen a Super Treasure Hunt before, you can tell pretty easily. There will also be a TH somewhere on the car. And on this, there is a gold flame on the card back behind the car. So usually the paint, to me, the wheels are usually the giveaway, but the paint's shiny, and if you've been seeing a lot of one model and then all of a sudden see one that looks different, it's pretty easy to tell. And once you've seen one or two Super Treasure Hunts in person, it kind of gets easier to spot them, pick them out. So now there's a lot of other types of cars too that we won't get into here. But that's the basics for the main line. About the only other thing that's the same price-wise and with detail level would be the mystery models, the ones that come in the bags. Usually you'll see them, if you see these hanging on the pegs. Let me reach over and grab one here. You'll see a box with, say, some of these bags in them. And so these are not technically considered mainline, I don't think, but they're along the same lines. The difference is these will have chases. What you see on the box that's 1, 2, and 3, those are the chases for these. So they're probably on the same level of desirability, maybe a little bit more depending on the casting. They're about in line with the Treasure Hunt. So take that for what you will. Just a few notes as we in the video. I'm looking over some of my cars here to make sure I've not missed anything. And I'm trying not to run this video too long, but if you'll notice these two cars here, these are from different years. A lot of people will look at this and say they're Experimotors, but why are the numbers different? If you'll see up here, the cards vary slightly from year to year, so you can tell this is one that was from last year, and this is one that's from 2023. So a lot of times if you are having trouble figuring out what the difference is or why something looks funny on the cards, it's usually because it's from year over year. All right. Now a card from 2 or 3 years ago looks quite a bit different, but from year to year they don't change a whole lot, or they haven't the past few years anyway. So hopefully this helps. I know as far as what's popular, I will say that JDM is always popular. So if you're into Skylines, Japanese sports cars, Datsuns, things like that, they're really popular. If you have many people around your area that are into Hot Wheels, you will probably have a hard time finding some of those cars unless you're just at the right place at the right time. So if you like certain Euros or muscle cars or just different type of cars than a lot of other people, you'll be in luck because there's a lot of Hot Wheels out there. They make a lot of other castings, and you know, if it's not JDM or like a super popular muscle car or classic car that people are looking for, then you'll probably be in luck and have an easier time finding things. So, but collect what you like. Don't try to collect everything because you'll end up wasting a lot of money and space and end up with things that you don't like. Now, that's not to say if you find something that you know other people will like and you've had a hard time finding something, go ahead and pick up the thing that other people like, and you can use that for trade bait. It's just like when you were a kid, and you know, when I was a kid, we traded baseball cards, football cards, things like that. And we traded toys too. That's actually how I got a few of my Hot Wheels. But don't be afraid to pick some stuff up for trade bait. Just be careful and don't spend a huge amount of money. One thing about the Hot Wheels is what's new is hot, and like in my area, we get things a little bit late. So by the time we get things, they're still popular, but it's usually like a month or two behind. And so things that were, say, maybe worth like a Super that was worth $60 the week before can pretty quickly drop to, say, 40 or 50 bucks, you know. So I mean, that's still $40 or $50 that people are willing to pay for something, but that's just one example of how prices can drop pretty quickly on some of this stuff. So You know, if you're buying, like I said, if you're buying to resell or for trade value, just be aware that even some of the more popular stuff can drop in value pretty quickly. So, my one rule of thumb, I guess, and this is probably the thing I'll leave you with, even if I'm buying something for trade bait, I generally try not to buy anything that I would be upset about being stuck with, right? I would be okay with it being stuck in my collection. That being said, I give away a lot of Hot Wheels. I send extras with packages when I send stuff out sometimes. I give a lot to local charity and our local church. So I don't mind getting, I get a lot of extra because I buy cases online anyway and things like that. So, you know, it doesn't bother me that much. But if you're just buying to collect and buying to trade around, just don't buy a whole bunch of stuff that you wouldn't want to keep. And that's a pretty good rule for kind of anything. If you don't want it hanging around, you might want to think twice about buying it. So, but the big thing is enjoy the hunt. If you've got somebody that you can enjoy it with, that's even better. Share it with a kid or a loved one, and happy hunting.